Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and Assistant City Manager, John Fitzpatrick.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for the most local news that you're going to find, and as well as upcoming preview for the Common Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, and today we are joined by our Assistant City Manager, John Fitzpatrick, sitting in for City Manager roll-off today. So John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
It's great to have you. We have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to go ahead and dive into our hot topics for the first half of today's show. We're going to take a little break, and then we will return with a review of the council meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. So, first item that we want to talk about, John, of course, one last plug for State of the City 2018. We're really excited for it this year.
I think it's going to be a good one. I think we talk about it every year. How can we top the last year? But there's so many exciting things I think we have planned. I know you're very involved in that, and some new exhibits, some new things for people to see, and we had such a great year last year. Not that we want to dwell in the past, but we'll talk a little bit about that, and then what people think we ought to focus on in the future.
Yes, and that's kind of the theme a little bit this year, like you said. What's next in Oshkosh in 2018? We talked to a lot of people in the community, a lot of big projects that we're going to kind of preview a little bit too. Just a lot of really positive excitement going on in Oshkosh.
We hope people can come out. It's a good time.
Yes. So that is next Monday, March 19th, 6 o'clock p.m. It is at the Oshkosh Convention Center. Doors open at 6, like I said, and then the presentation, the State of the City address, begins at 6:30. Of course, got to give a plug for the expo as well, a chance to interact with city departments.
And also, I just added, we have some Citizen Service Awards and Community Partnership Awards, too. So.
Yes. It's a great opportunity to honor people who have made a difference in our community by getting involved, whether that be in city government, boards or commissions, or city partnerships with different organizations.
Well said.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to that. Hope to see everybody out there. Oshkosh Media will be recording it as well, so be on the lookout for replays if you're unable to make it that evening, but should be a really great night, and we hope to see everybody there on March 19th. Next item that we want to talk about is fire chief recruitment.
Right.
We had a big announcement pretty recently from our fire chief.
We did. Chief Franz has decided to retire, and I think his last day is going to be somewhere in the first week in June, June 8th. So we've started the process to seek to fill his replacement. It's going to be very difficult, I think, because Chief Franz has done a tremendous job for us for more than 30 years. And he's been the chief here for over 17 years, which is very rare, I think, in the recent times of fire department history. So he's done a fantastic job. He's very well respected inside our organization and out. And we're going to miss working with him. I think you can agree with that.
He's a great guy.
He is. But we're very happy for him and happy for that he can take this next step in his life and
definitely
enjoy his retirement. But he's still here for a little while yet.
Yes, he's got big shoes to fill though, and so the recruitment process is a very important one.
It is.
And the search for the next fire chief will look kind of similar to the search that took place a few years ago when we were looking for a new police chief.
Right. I met with the Police and Fire Commission this week, as a matter of fact, and we talked about a recruitment plan. We're going to have multiple panels that are going to assist the Police and Fire Commission, a community panel, a peer technical panel, and an employee panel. So we're going to have representatives from the community on the community panel, business, the local hospitals, hopefully, and special event representative, representatives from the educational community, also some peer fire chiefs, City Manager Roloff, Police Chief Smith, and some important employee representatives too, because we want to make sure that this person that we select and the information that we provide to the Police and Fire Commission is the very best.
Definitely. And in addition to that interview process, we are on the hunt for public input as well.
Right.
A huge part of finding a position of this nature is getting input from the community about qualities that they'd like to see in their next fire chief.
Exactly. We're going to be using Polko. I know you've talked about Polko here before, and so we're going to cast that information out to the community and ask them to respond, not only through the Polko app or Connect Oshkosh, but also through social media. I think we'll promote Polko and that question through our social media outlets.
Definitely.
So we'd like to see what the community would like to, what sort of qualities they'd like to see in our new fire chief. And there's also going to be a meet and greet that we're going to have scheduled. So when we get to the point where we have some finalists that have been established, I believe we have it pre-scheduled for April 17th.
Okay.
At the Oshkosh Convention Center. We'll ask the community to come out and meet the finalists, give us their thoughts, talk to them a little bit, and that'll be a precursor to the interviews that we'll have set up.
Definitely. So it's quite a process. It's an important process.
It is. The goal we have established, as I mentioned, the chief is done, I believe, June 8th, and we like the new chief to start June 9th.
Excellent.
So.
Well, it sounds like we're on the right track here. Like you mentioned, Polko, be on the lookout for that question. Will be posted tomorrow on Friday, so that'll be available up, I think, pretty much through the whole the interview process, meet and greet process, and everything.
Right. We're advertising on our city website. We've worked with a variety of different other outlets to get the information out that we're advertising through for this position. So, if you have any friends that are fabulous fire chiefs somewhere else and want to come to a first-class city like Oshkosh, we'd be happy to take a look at them.
Wonderful. So be on the lookout for more information on that, and we look forward to beginning this process and meeting some great people.
Yes.
Transitioning nicely now into our next item for the first half is the Guns and Hoses hockey game. So the firefighters and the policemen and women are training right now for their hockey game this weekend.
They are, yeah. And I don't know have you ever gone to a Guns N' Hoses
game? I have
game?
Not yet. I'd love to someday, though.
Especially with your hockey background.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
I'm shocked that you haven't been there.
I think there'll be less fights in this game than a typical Gamblers game.
I hope so. I hope so.
March 10th, 3 o'clock at the YMCA.
Right.
It's a great day.
We talked about, how police and fire is going to cooperate in this recruitment.
Yes.
But also there's a friendly rivalry between them.
Yes.
A good one. But they're very supportive of each other, and this is really a joint effort to support the community. All proceeds go to Project Home.
Yes.
So I think that is a tremendous cause. So I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, it really is an interesting event, and you don't get the opportunity to see your public safety officials in this realm, I guess you could say. So you don't have to be a hockey fan. There'll be lots of other things to do that day as well. I believe there'll be a silent auction, some prizes, things like that. The whole day, just check them out on Facebook. They've got an event set up there with more information. But like you said, every year they pick a different charity to benefit, and this year it's Project Home. And just overall a great opportunity to get involved with our police and fire people.
Right.
So that wraps it up for the first half of our topics for today's show. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we're going to dive into the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. We'll be right back on City Manager's Report.
In the last year, the City of Oshkosh experienced great progress and unity across our community. The 2018 State of the City Address and City Exhibit Expo will take place on Monday, March 19th at the Oshkosh Convention Center, and I'd like to invite you to join us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the address begins at 6:30. Following the presentation, we will honor citizens who made great contributions to our community's growth. The night concludes with the Expo, where you can talk with city staff about ways to make Oshkosh a top place to live and visit. Please join us for the State of the City at the Convention Center on Monday, March 19th.
Calling all pop culture fanatics. Your favorite characters are coming to the Oshkosh Public Museum. Replay is the ultimate throwback, featuring more than 30 vibrant pieces of art that celebrate the comic books, movies, and superheroes of the iconic 80s. Experience Replay, the exhibition, on display February 18th to May 13th at the Oshkosh Public Museum. For more information, visit oshkoshmuseum.org.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report on GovTV. We're back with the second half of the show. It's time to look at the Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. And we are here with Assistant City Manager John Fitzpatrick. So thanks once again for joining us, John. And let's go ahead and get into it. We have a lot to talk about here. A lot of great discussion items. But before the meeting, prior to the start of the council meeting at 5:15, there will be a workshop in room 404 regarding the city website.
Right. The council asked City Manager Roloff to take a look at our website, and it's something that we do frequently, but it's something that requires a lot of input. We've formed a city committee. I think you're part of that group, Emily, and I know that there's been a lot of careful consideration given to this project and a lot of hard work that's been put forth. So it's an opportunity for the council to take a look at some of the things that have been established so far and give us direction as to what they like and what else they'd like to see. So I think they're going to be pleased, but we'll find out more on Tuesday.
It's a major project, but I think IT is on the right track. We've seen some of the samples that they prepared, and overall looking for more of a user-friendly, more of a transparent website.
Yep, absolutely.
Ease of information in that aspect.
I think it's going to be very good.
Excellent. So now moving into the agenda, first item that we want to talk about is the public hearing item, and that is to approve the official mapping for the extension of North Westfield Street north of Oshkosh Avenue. Now this is in conjunction with the Oshkosh Corporation items, isn't it?
It is. For people that aren't familiar where Westfield is, if you're coming on Oshkosh Avenue and you're traveling east, you can, there's a daycare center that's to the right, and then Westfield Avenue is right on that corner, that intersection. And right now it just stops at Oshkosh Avenue, but in order to provide access to that land area where Oshkosh Corporation is going to have their global headquarters, we discussed the idea of extending Westfield into that area. It'll provide a little more convenience and access, and it'll also be a good safe measure to provide more than one entrance there too. You can see where Rath Lane is, I think, on this visual. Right now it kind of dead ends in a cul-de-sac there right behind what used to be the Robbins restaurant, and I think that's also going to be extended to provide more avenues for entrance and egress. So I think it'll be a good undertaking to move forward with this.
Excellent. So just really transportation-wise, making it more available and accessible.
And safe.
And safe, definitely. Right. Moving on, under the consent agenda, item number 6 is the playground design and installation for South Park. Now this is kind of an exciting one. There's been a lot going on out there if you've driven past over the last few months.
Right.
So first, maybe just tell us about what this item on the agenda is for.
Sure. This is, as you mentioned, there's a lot of things going on at South Park. What's really taking place out there are a lot of improvements for stormwater management. But in conjunction with that, we have an opportunity to update some of the playground equipment out there.
Definitely.
So I think that'll be a nice kind of a cherry on the top of the sundae after it's all completed, hopefully, for people, because I know they've been very patient waiting for that to take place. South Park's one of our more heavily used parks, and we've asked for their patience. It's going to be very nice when it's done, and I think this will be a nice improvement to the existing structures that are there right now.
It looks beautiful. It looks like a nice complement to the inclusive playground that they have out there that was installed a few years ago. And it really, like you said, there's a lot of work being done out there, and we want to kind of dispel the myth that this is the reason that all that work is being done out there.
No,
so
that's not the case.
We had some renderings of what that's going to look like. The lagoons were being dredged and deepened and widened, and like you said, a stormwater project, very important, making it more accessible to handicapped individuals to be able to come out and fish on the pier and things like that. So overall, it's just going to be a really great project and a win-win for stormwater, for parks, and for people who use the park.
As you mentioned, and as we talked about earlier, South Park's a very popular park, and people have enjoyed it for years, but we want everybody to have an opportunity to access it and everybody to have an opportunity to enjoy it too. So I think it'll be really nice when complete.
Yes, and as always, like you said, once again, thank you for your patience to everybody, and bear with us, and it's going to be worth the wait, we promise.
Right.
Moving on, item right after that is the grant application submission for the Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission and the Wisconsin DNR and the Great Lakes Basin Tree Planting Program. There's a lot of tree planting initiatives in Oshkosh. Kind of give us a little bit about what this item is here.
Well, this is our opportunity to submit a grant application to Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission and Wisconsin DNR. And people may or may not recall a pretty serious windstorm we had a few years ago where we lost a lot of our urban forest. We had some pretty old and really beautiful trees that were knocked down by the wind, and we had the community came together and contributed all kinds of money to try to help restore that. And we have a program that's established at the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation called the Great Neighborhoods Program, where the monies from that those donations reside. So this grant is designed to supplement that Great Neighborhoods Program so we can continue to replenish our urban forest and just make the improvements that are necessary to make sure our urban canopy is intact. It's something that, believe it or not, is not only just a beauty element, it really helps with preserve our pavement. It does all kinds of things with stormwater. So trees in the urban environment are an extremely important element, and hopefully we'll be able to secure additional funding to continue to produce those.
Excellent. And we're very thankful for the Great Neighborhoods Program and the work that they're doing. And
for the community coming together in the first place to help us rebuild.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So looking forward to hearing more discussion on that at the council meeting.
Yes.
Moving down the agenda here, we've got the approval of spotlight designation to redevelop for the redevelopment authority to acquire 1202 Oshkosh Ave for the amount of $175,000 and 1415 Rainbow Drive for $50,000. So tell us where this is and why it's important.
Well, as we talked about, there's a lot of exciting things going on in the community right now, and one of the latest things we've been working on is the Oshkosh Corporation development. And one of the things that's going to need to be done is the redevelopment of Oshkosh Avenue. And also we've been looking at the intersection at Sawyer Street for some time. And for anyone that's driven down there, they know that it's somewhat complex because it's, we have 3 roads converging there, and
somewhat complex is an understatement.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it is. But the idea behind this is for us to acquire those properties there. Reps Bar, if folks are familiar with that, and there's a bait shop right next to Reps, kind of by our boat launch. So we'd like to be able to acquire that property, and we have acquired that property, so we can try to reconstruct that intersection in a way where it's going to be a little more traditional for people, so they can feel more comfortable navigating that intersection. So we'll see when we can program that because of all the other activity we have on Oshkosh Ave. But we're always trying to think ahead and trying to plan for things when they become available, so we can maximize the savings that can be provided to the taxpayers, rather than allowing things to be rebuilt and then having to acquire it and expend more money. Right. So it just worked out. We've been talking to Al for quite some time about this, and although we're going to miss him as a business owner in the community, I think his willingness to work with us and try to correct that part of the city is something we certainly appreciate too.
Wonderful. Next item under pending ordinances, item titled Prohibiting Sexting by Juveniles. What exactly is this, and why are we discussing this at the council meeting?
Well, I think this may be been something that maybe City Manager Roloff has touched on in previous meetings, and this is an initiative that Chief Smith and our police department is working on with all local police departments in the valley. And unfortunately, one of the negative outcomes of some of the technology that children have the ability to utilize now is texting and maybe not using that tool in an appropriate way. And because they're minors, they may do things that they may not think about as thoroughly as they would if they were adults. And when they're involved in texting pictures that are inappropriate, it can adversely impact them for their entire life. They could receive a felony for some of those activities. So the local police departments and communities got together and said, hey, you know, what can we do to help educate juveniles, and what can we do to provide an opportunity for them to learn from these situations before they get themselves into a situation that is going to impact them for the rest of their life. So this ordinance is designed to provide them an opportunity to consider other options rather than having them be labeled with that felony conviction for their entire lifetime. So I think
Wonderful.
it's a good thing.
Well, thank you for the background on that.
Sure.
Moving on, under pending ordinances, we have a zone change for 566 North Main Street, and this is over at Fletch's.
Yes, right. Fletch's is interested in having an outdoor fence so they can better serve their patrons and provide eating and other options for them outside. So if people haven't been over to that area, it's kind of a unique design outside. It's got kind of a circular window in front, and well, it looks like we have a picture of some of the areas that may be redone. So I think it'll be nice once it's complete.
Very nice. Yes, once spring and summer finally
Right,
comes.
right.
Under new ordinances, as we move along here, we've got the approval for closures of Oregon Street and Otter Avenue. And this is really intermittent closures that are going to be ahead that we want people to kind of just be on the lookout for.
Right, right. The 2018 construction program's right around the corner. We have people actually, believe it or not, out there trying to prepare for this already. We've had some pretty decent weather, so we've been trying to take advantage of some head starts. But this is really a preparatory thing to make people aware that there's going to be intermittent street closures when we do Oregon Street and when we do Otter Ave from State to Broad, and Washington Avenue from North Main to Broad, and Seepy and Court and others.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for some lane or some street closures that'll be in place periodically. We'll try to move as quickly as we possibly can. We'll try to notify people to, you know, temper the inconvenience that might be present, but just to let you know in advance that they're on their way.
More information to come soon.
Right.
Next item is regarding metal roofs, and we're changing the zoning ordinance to permit metal roofs now. So
Yes.
a great thing to add.
Right, right. I think in the past our ordinance, you know, viewed metal roofing as something that was not an attractive feature for residents. But, you know, as I know you're aware, as a new homeowner, metal roofs have increased greatly in terms of their aesthetic value and also their sustainable value compared to asphalt roofing.
Right.
So we wanted to provide that option to community members if they wanted to pursue a metal roof option as opposed to asphalt.
Excellent. Under new resolutions, we've got the farmers market agreement. Now, this issue was part of it was laid over. Kind of explain to us what's going to be happening at the meeting.
Right, right. The farmers market folks applied for a waiver for some of the extraordinary fees that are provided to them through our special events ordinance. And the council and the city has had a very long-standing and successful relationship with the farmers market. They used to be here in our city hall parking lot for years before they moved downtown. And at the last meeting, you know, we just weren't able to come to any sort of understanding about how we could accommodate their request for a waiver without triggering other waivers from other very worthy organizations. So I think the challenge was how could we be considerate of them, but also be considerate of all other special events. And so we talked to the farmers market. I believe we've come up with a compromise that's going to be acceptable to the council. And that compromise really involves us taking a look at what some of their biggest cost drivers were. Actually, they were barricades. And what we intend to do is work with them on those costs and reduce those costs in such a way where they won't be as severely impacted by any additional cost increases going forward. So we can provide more detail at the council meeting, but I think it'll be something that is going to be viewed positively.
Wonderful. The item right after that is the accepting of the Joint Effort Marketing Grant, the GEM grant, and the amending of the 2018 museum budget. Basically, that is it's accepting some great marketing dollars for the Oshkosh Public Museum to
It
be able to
is.
market outside the state.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
So congratulations to them.
Right.
Definitely want to get a plug for the replay exhibit, so definitely check that out. Just go to the Oshkosh Public Museum's website. They have a lot going on for more information, and we look forward to accepting that at the council meeting.
Yes.
Right after that, we've got the approval of some combination Class B licenses. On the list, Carmel Crisp, Evergreen, Fletches, and the Howard.
Right. I think there's, we have four entities that are seeking approval of a liquor license. I think there are only two or three available, so that's going to be a difficult decision for the council. But I think there's been some good submittals in terms of information and justification for a variety of these. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to hearing from these people at the council meeting as well, correct?
Yes, they'll have an
Great.
opportunity to provide a presentation.
Wonderful. And now we've got a couple items here related to each other, 29 and 30. This is the approval of the development plan and the development agreement with Oshkosh Corporation to put their global headquarters at 2175.
Right.
So tell us about that.
It's pretty exciting. I think
It is
this
exciting.
this is a very important piece moving forward to their development. And conceptually we had an agreement with them to move forward, but this really puts more of the pieces in place, whereby we can be assured that they're going to move forward with this. And the idea is to have everything done. It looks like we got some renderings of their buildings. I was at a presentation where Wilson Jones spoke about how excited they were. He also talked about how we were in competition with a variety of other places, including their largest division, which is located right outside Washington, D.C. And there was a lot of dialogue about maybe locating there because that is their largest division, and also they had proximity to Washington, D.C., so they would have access to have dialogue with a lot of decision makers that would impact their company. But it really came down to the fact that they love Oshkosh. They're very proud to be Oshkosh Corporation, and their employees are very happy to be here and enjoy living here. And it was my understanding that although they had a lot of different proposals, some may be more positive and more lucrative for them, that our proposal was the one that they presented to the board, the only one that they presented
Awesome.
for recommendation. So we were very gratified to hear that.
Yes.
And so it's very exciting. I think there's still some work that has to be done, but it's something that I think is going to have an impact on our community for a long, long time.
Yes. And then really quickly, we've got about 30 seconds, so why don't you quick take us through the last item we wanted to discuss. Kind of dealing with this, the previous items is the plan for a hotel.
Right. In that area of Oshkosh Avenue, we talked about that earlier. There's a plan for an extended stay hotel there in Oshkosh Avenue too. I believe it's going to be a hotel that's under the Marriott flag.
Wonderful.
So it's a very, very high quality hotel option. I think it's a Residence Inn extended stay hotel. So that's very exciting too. I think that'll be another option for not only people here in the community, but family members that are visiting and want to come here to Oshkosh for whatever reason during the holidays or for whatever purpose.
Yes.
In addition to business travelers. So it'll be just another option to consider.
Very exciting.
Yes.
So a packed agenda, a lot going on in Oshkosh.
Yes.
Overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us today. We are out of time. We
Okay.
pushed it to the max here
All
today,
right.
John. So
Thanks,
thanks so
Emily.
much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Again, the Common Council meeting is this Tuesday, March 13th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website, oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it on the radio at Oshkosh FM, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or of course check out our YouTube channel for replays of your favorite programs and government meetings. And don't forget, if you have a question for Mark Roloff, send it to us on Twitter or Facebook or email it to us and he will answer it on the next episode of CMR. So as always, thank you so much for joining us on City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.